In this video, I'm going to perform a percent of 1 RM target C day. I'm probably going to go a little bit harder. Maybe I'll go up to 50% today so we can see some additional navigation stuff, maybe how to get through the warm up or skip the warm up for that matter. But we will proceed into that through the Browse All Protocols button. As you can see, I'm not set up for my C day yet. I'm not set up for mid finger flexion, but I am already connected. You can see it on the screen here with the green dot, as well as the blue light on my device. So we'll browse all protocols. In fact, let's go even a little bit harder. Let's do a 55% C day. So we're really going to go hard on this one, or certainly high effort when I say go hard. I'll select right hand. We're going to treat this as a PR of 90 miles per hour. So I'm going to switch that. We'll click continue and continue. I know I skipped through the instructions. I know what's going on. I would rather talk through it with you guys than force you to read the screen. We'll press start to calibrate. We can see here in the background, I'm going to have some warm up. And the instructions told me that we are going to be doing mid finger work. So for mid finger work, we want to expose the distal joint. I want to be set up proximally to that distal joint line. Proximally means closer to the center of my body. Distally means farther away from the center of my body in respect to that last joint line of the finger. There's no target force here, as you can see, but we are at 50% of max. This is going to be an RPE. I probably won't go as hard as 50% of my max, but for a warm-up rep, I'll probably get it up to around 80 maybe. That's pretty good. And I'll have 2 reps here of that warm up. There we go, feeling pretty good about that. I can click done, finish this exercise, and we're going to have an ulnar deviation warm up. Now we can skip this. As you can see, we have 1 rep kind of in the background there that's programmed. I'll do this. You might be wondering, when do we skip the warm up? When do we perform the warm up? I would tell you, just kind of use your best judgment. If you are fresh out of a bullpen, if you are fresh off the field from throwing, you probably don't need to warm up. You've done everything you can to be loose, be ready, and get the forearm hot. Now, if this is the first thing you do in the morning, if you just pick up FlexPro after doing nothing, you should probably do the warm up. Like I said, use common sense here. Treat it just like the weight room, or treat it just like throwing. Use your head and make the proper decision of whether you need to warm up or not. If you do, perform the warm up in FlexPro. If you don't, so be it. Click skip and move on. And for this, now we have radial deviation. I'm going to skip it. We're going to move on. We actually are going to skip the exercise altogether. There we go. Now we are into the actual full-on workout. We have mid finger flexion. As I said, we're going to have 3 reps of this, and then we are going to have 3 reps of each of the individual fingers before we get into our wrist deviation work. We'll click continue. Of course, we'll calibrate. I'm set up already for mid finger flexion. First rep. I'm going to step on it a little bit. Hopefully I can still talk at a pretty calm level. I don't think I will be out of breath during this, but there might be a few times where I start grimacing and can't get the words out. As always, I'm in a comfortable and repeatable position. I'm raising my elbow now. I can perform my rep from up here, but I perform most of my training or most of my work with my elbow resting on my armchair here. As you can see, sorry for the weird camera angle, but I would rather perform everything that I do in as repeatable of a position as possible, just to create a good amount of consistent data. Got my last rep. Going a little too hard, I'll back off. As you guys will probably see, or maybe you know from experience, the higher up you go in force, oftentimes the harder it is to maintain those levels of force. We're about to get started now on our index finger work, so I'm going to pinch the other rabbit ear clips of the finger receivers to slide those out of the way to isolate the index finger. That way we're doing only index finger. You might see my other fingers are curling in the process. That's totally okay. We just want to look at what is going on though from a force production perspective from only the index finger. We'll do the same for the middle, ring, and little as we go across. I am definitely having to put in a little bit more work than I did on the previous 35% sessions that you may have watched. There's no question about that. This is taking it out of me a little bit, and I can feel it in my finger. Now, if you do have pain, if you have pain associated with what we're doing, stop, contact us, and we'll figure out why that might be going on. For some users, they experience pain because they actually kind of curl back with the finger. If you see my finger not in the device here, they curl back instead of press downward. Now, there is going to be some natural curling that does occur just because of the way the device is set up. So I will see that distal joint, that distal fingertip, curl back a little bit. However, we want the force to be applied straight downward. If I apply force curled back, sometimes we'll start to feel the top of that knuckle run into the plastic molding here, and that can cause some pain. But if you're experiencing any joint pain, definitely let us know and we'll figure out why that's going on and we can adjust your programming accordingly. But we're going to keep on progressing through the middle finger here. One more rep. A little bit low at 34. Now we will move on. You see I have a target of 27. This is where the fatigue usually sets in. It's pretty tough to control the ring finger. I did well on that rep. That third rep, though, is where this is going to come back to bite me. Rep number 3. I'm sustaining force pretty well, but there's no question this is relatively taxing. And done. We will slide the ring finger fixed digit receiver out of the way and set up for the little finger or the pinky. This 18 should be pretty attainable for me. As you can see, just like the other protocols, it's been 8-second rest times across the board. We've had 8-second total hold times with a 2-second ramp up, and then we are actually calculating the average force over the latter 6 seconds of the rep. So that's why you see this little node here sticking off 2 seconds before it, 6 seconds after. The 6 seconds after is where we're actually getting that recorded data at the bottom of the FlexPro screen or at your app screen, and what will actually go on to the dashboard or go on to your history. Y'all probably saw there is flipping through this as I set up for ulnar deviation. You may remember this from the A-Day. We are going to use our left hand or our off hand. It's a left hand for me to brace the back of the device, and I'm going to press laterally with my hand from that ring finger. So pulling towards the pinky or pressing towards the pinky, thinking of a breaking ball. That offhand is just providing support for the device. It's trying to make it more immovable on the back of my forearm, as opposed to if I press without this resistance with the opposite hand, I just have to work significantly harder. So we'll provide a little more restraint there, and we'll see the numbers shoot up. We ideally want to provide a consistent amount of counter force with that hand. We're not trying to generate personal records just by pressing harder with the opposite hand. Just trying to hold it down on the forearm to create, again, more of an immovable object with the device. There's my 4 reps. Now we'll get on to radial deviation here, working the opposite direction. As you guys have heard me say on that B-Day video, this is without a doubt the hardest exercise for me. I'm not particularly good at radial deviation. This might be the hardest one for me to talk through at a normal level. 3 reps to go, and then we are out of here. Two more. For radial deviation, you can see I have the deviation paddle set up in between my index and middle finger, and I'm pressing towards my thumb. So the opposite of ulnar deviation. And one more rep. Doing a great job hitting my target. I'll definitely give myself some kudos there for averaging the 31. This is definitely tough for me. Now you can see I have this pop-up that says you skipped reps in this session. This just helps us at FlexPro Grip know if something went wrong. If you remember, I just chose to skip the radial deviation warm-up, so I can click by choice. If there was an error or the app froze and I was forced to skip, I would click had to skip. But I did it by choice, so I'll click by choice. And now we will click done, finish the session. Now that we've reached this screen, we can click the go to protocols button. We can go look at our data from this session either in the history page of the app, or we can head over to the dashboard from the FlexPro Grip website if we want to dig a little bit deeper. But there you have it. That is a percent of 1 RM C day on the FlexPro Grip device.